Hello, I'm Ali.
I'm Deb.
Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Stilettos.
Happy New Year. Welcome to just this bright, shiny 2024. There has been so much change in my life in the last 3 weeks that it seems like I'm taking resolutions right out the window. I've already done so much. So we found a stat, and sometimes I question stats. I don't know if you do, but they say that 80% of New Year's resolutions fail. Now, based on my own results over the last 30 odd years, I can say that to be true. There's this like there's this great push. It's a new year, it's a new vibe, and you want to come out of the gate. There's different coaches maybe saying like, okay, this and that. And I found a trend over the last week that people are going like into resolutions. They're looking for different alternatives that fit their needs. And that's what I've adapted over the last little while. And that's what Deb and I are going to talk to you today about is how can you have maybe a new resolution revolution? What's going to work for you? Because that's what's going to set the tone of the year or help you set different goals throughout the year that you can and will achieve. Because I believe goals to be beneficial. I just think doing it because it's January 1st and there's this push and not standing behind them is going to help you. So, we're going to talk about a few things. So, stay with us. And if you've been watching us for a while here on YouTube or on your podcast, thank you so much. And if you love what we're doing, give us a little like, comment, let us know your feedback because that helps us really grow our channel as well as gives us ideas about what you want to hear about because that's more important than what Deb and I sometimes have ideas for. So, Deb, let's just start like, what's your idea about resolutions?
Yeah, I think there's so much pressure when it comes to January 1st and that you have to have all these big, exciting goals. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big, dream big kind of girl. But I think there is so much pressure. And if you try and do too many things at once and try and make so many changes in your life, chances are you aren't going to commit to those. You should choose one or two. And that's why I like choosing a word. And this year I chose the word thrive because I really want to thrive in all areas of my life. So if I can take, those different areas, and we're going to talk about the wellness wheel, but, my physical health, I just saw a picture of me like 5 years ago. I was in like really good shape and I remember feeling really good. And so am I still feeling that good? And if I'm not, what are some small changes I can make? I stopped running for, I don't even know what reason, but we fall into our ruts and I stopped running because I have a dog and now I started running with him. So it's, is it your diet? Are you consuming too much sugar or like, what else do I need to do to get back to that feeling really good? So I'm starting the year off really focusing on my physical health and getting back into like that flow, that routine that I used to have and incorporating my dog in it so he gets his exercise too. And then just really trying to eat clean and just honor my body a little bit more so I can, like I said, thrive in that. And again, probably another area for me is my work and what I do. And just when I say thrive in that is like showing up bigger for myself and going on those bigger stages and really marketing myself and putting myself out there and attracting those really big opportunities because that's where I want to be. So those are two that I really am focused on. But when it comes to resolutions, I just think people have, if your idea is to go out and lose 20 pounds, I would ask you to question the word lose because chances are, when we say the word loss, we think of we lose our keys, we lose somebody that we love. So can you reprogram your mind to think about just being more physically fit or loving your body the way it is? So and then doing those things that you would do to love your body, which would be exercise, diet, all that stuff. So for me, it's also been sleep when it comes to physical activity or exercise. which sounds funny, but sleep is so important to your physical health. And I've told Ali this week, I've just been exhausted. So I've also been listening to my body and taken that time to kind of rejuvenate and recalibrate so I can go into the next week feeling really great and rejuvenated. What about you, Ali?
Yeah, I'm loving words or like a theme. And sometimes I'm trying to think like last year, I really don't feel like I had one
I don't
or
think I did
whatever,
either.
or what I set out to didn't end up being the vibe of the year because by the end, I thought like this is a really like spiritual healing year for me, 2023. Now in 2024, the what vibe kind of came through for me with so much change was like there's abundance. There's abundance of opportunities, there's abundance of time, abundance of resources, abundance of health and alternatives, and just looking at life from a new perspective for myself. So with the wellness wheel, and I love doing little changes. And that's why, like, if you have that overarching goal, like, let's do weight. And I love weight because everyone has a physical body, everyone has a relationship to their body. So it just sort of fits that if you do want to release 20 pounds, that's could be your year goal. So what is that one step that you could do for the first 90 days to start integrating to create that new habit? What do you have to let go of? Because I think sometimes we're so concentrated on adding things. Oh, I'll do this and I'll add this, but chances are there's stuff that you have to let go of so that you make room for something new. So if you look at like, here's your plate and you have all this stuff on your plate, but you actually don't even enjoy some of this stuff. Or if like someone else put something on your plate and you're like, I don't even like Brussels sprouts, take them off. Like there's things that I'm sure, I'm not going to hate on Brussels sprouts. They're really great when they're like super well done. Anyway, they're like, I think you understand what I'm saying, or I really hope you do, because sometimes when you just take away things, then it allows that space and time. I think that's where abundance for me comes in, is like sometimes I'm doing things in a way that doesn't seem abundantly, and I'm spending so much energy on lack of resources or lack of this or what I'm not capable of. And I got to let some of that story go, or I have to let some of those things go that aren't serving me anymore. Like taking too much time, maybe planning my meals day to day. That could be a Sunday activity. So letting go of the day to day and integrating something new. So that could be the yin and yang. So that's what I would do. And think of things that you want to let go of 2023, things that just did not work. So that in 2024, what would be the opposite of those things, or things that you want to call in because you want to focus and manifest going forward, not necessarily dwell on the past. It's okay to release and forgive to move forward. So my vibe right now is very much like feel abundant of everything around me and joy. I feel like last year I look back and I just did not feel like I had enough fun. And for human design, generators by any gens, like that is the bread and butter of our lifestyle, is having fun, being that light force of the world. So if you are one of those types, I invite you to say like, okay, how could you have a little bit more fun and joy in these days? Because that energy is going to be so attractive.
I love that. Doing one thing at least that brings you joy every day. And I actually committed to myself, and I just said, if it doesn't bring me joy, I'm probably not going to do it. So what brings me joy? And I'm not saying that there aren't some things that don't bring me joy, that are those mundane tasks that you have to do. But if it's an invite somewhere, I want it to be joyful. I want it to feel good in my physical body. And I think when we talk about letting things go, I think there's also so much pressure, like that you have to be like gung ho out of the gate in January, and that, you have to be doing these things every day. And I would say release that pressure too, because you always have a chance to recommit to your goals. Let's say you miss a day. Like, I think we're just so hard on ourselves. So just, I don't know, just give yourself some grace sometimes too. It's sometimes hard to implement new habits and changes, but just recommitting to that goal every day. Even if you miss a day, give yourself a little grace, give yourself a little bit of forgiveness, and move on to tomorrow, to recommitting to whatever it is. So why don't we talk about just some of the dimensions of the wellness wheel and just some areas of your life for you to really consider. We've already talked about one, your physical health, like looking at your fitness, your exercise, prioritizing your sleep, and maybe eating healthier. We also talk about our emotional well-being. And what does that look like for you, Ali, when we talk about emotional well-being? For me, I know mindfulness or just being like really aware of where my thoughts are and reflecting daily on how I could improve. What does that look like for you?
I love to journal and meditate. That helps me calm. And sometimes it will be like for my emotional well-being, like getting outside in nature is my go-to. And then reflecting and journaling. And I know when I'm out of my journaling practice or reflecting,
Mhm.
getting my overactive mind, because it's one thing to think about things or express them, though there is power in getting things on paper. And for me, that that has opened up a lot of calm and presence and breakthroughs and creativity. So I would say for myself, like having that beautiful meditation journaling practice supports my well-being, emotional well-being every day.
I like that. For me, the element of having social connection, I really want to surround myself with great people um, who support me and encourage me, and vice versa. I really want to cultivate those deep, meaningful relationships, and I'm really ready to release any superficial, I'm going to say bullshit, because I just am not into the drama. So I'd rather I guess spend time with family and friends who lift me up and release some of those, relationships that no longer are in alignment with like my goals going forward.
Yeah, and with connection, I find that like I've had many different lives. It feels like I've moved provinces. I just had a breakup, so it's like, does this fit what my future version is doing? Is like, have you ever had that fight with someone and then it kind of off rails your whole day? And not to say like like disagreements or whatever you want to call it are normal to some extent. However, if it's overtaking every day, then it definitely becomes wearing on yourself. And and they say like, yeah, we're the sum of the five people we hang out with. Whether or not that's true, I do think that the people and places where you are will impact you. It's your environment. It's something that is within your control, even though I feel like sometimes I can feel, especially with family or people that are really close to you, it's not in your control, though allow it to be. So with all these goals we talk about, like accountability, masterminds, I think are key. So when you're thinking who to surround yourself, like there are people that want to support you and cheer you on, and those are the people I'm choosing to have around me. Not to say they can't challenge me in questioning or pushing me a little bit further to outside of my comfort zone, because I think that's where coaches are really great at, and therapy or anything else, like see the blind spots. However, the people I know I have around me, they they lift me up. They see the best in me, and that's so important.
Yeah, I totally believe that. And you hear of like when you surround yourself with women, their your menstrual cycles are begin to be in alignment. So if you think about just the power of just being around somebody in the physical space all the time, how that has an effect on your body, or even going further, like your subconscious mind that you're not even aware about. So, you know, pay attention to who you surround yourself with. I think it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
So the next dimension on the wellness wheel is intellectual growth. I know for me, this is also an area that I'd like to maybe thrive in a little bit more. I do read, but I used to read like 20 minutes a day every day. So I'd like to get back into that practice. But I think this could also go to taking new courses or classes. It doesn't necessarily have to be necessarily um, impacting necessarily your job, but just for your own personal hobbies and interests. I think expanding yourself, stretching yourself, doing something different opens up the opportunity for intellectual growth. What's your take on this dimension?
Knowledge is just the key to my heart. There,
Knowledge is power. And I just heard this on a podcast. Yes, knowledge is power.
yeah, like, and I think that can be true if you're applying it, because I think you can get into this self-growth thing and you're reading the books and you're not implementing it. So I think there is power in knowledge if you're using it. And what does that look like for you? So for a human design perspective, if you have a one line that is the investigator, like research is kind of like you have a insatiable curiosity. And I know I have a one line in me, like if nothing would bring me more joy than having a beautiful Saturday morning with a tea and just diving more deep into like human design flow and how these come together. And the power for me happens when I share that information with the five, like teach, share. So that's where I think knowledge becomes power, because I bring about a new way. So for that, like I look at what skills I want to enhance, what I'm curious about, and what again brings me joy. Because if you ask me to research, I don't know, let's pick a silly topic, curating your grass for the whatever. Like someone might enjoy lawn care and things like that. Like I don't think I would, like that's very different. But I think you get the drift. Is those things aren't important to me. It's not going to bring me joy. There's things you don't love doing. So if you're looking to enhance your career or start a new job, what are some things that will take you to that next level? And Deb, your three line, like you love experimenting. So it could be dabbling in this and then giving it a shot there, and really allowing yourself to play with these energies. And again, I think for a lot of people, it is following what lights you up, what you could do for hours, or that curiosity. Like I've been really interested in pottery lately, to do something with my hands, or painting. So that necessarily won't amplify my coaching. However, it will bring me joy.
It might.
And well, but it will, because I'll be happier and I can share that flowy experience in other areas of my life. So I would say, like, follow your curiosity and what brings you joy, because there's so many great options for education now. Like, oh yeah, online coaches, go back to school, like whatever. Like it's never too late. So if you're thinking like, oh, I'm this, it's like, I don't want to hear it. I just won't hear it. Like
I don't want to hear it. I don't. And for me though, I am curious. So a lot of times I might not be the initiator. I might have a friend say, hey, do you want to take this class with me? I'm usually a yes girl when it comes to new opportunities. If it's something I haven't tried before, because a lot of those times are the moments, it's like those impromptu dates are like the best ones. But for me, it's sometimes a class that a girlfriend will reach out, and it's not something I would have thought about or even particularly probably looked at. And I have the best time, and tried something new. And I think saying yes to new opportunities, or trying something different than maybe you're used to, I think there's value in that and expansion.
mm-hmm.
So we talk about our intellectual growth, and now let's talk about occupational wellness and professional development. And I think you and I are huge in this area, as we've spent a lot of money on working with coaches and different courses. But I think it doesn't necessarily have to be spending a lot of money, but setting different goals. And I think you and I talked about even just being accountable to one another. I was setting weekly goals, monthly goals, just to, I think that's where those masterminds are really great, or having an accountability partner come into play. Because for me, it's easy for me to let myself off the hook, but if I have an accountability partner, I'm more apt to make sure that I'm reaching those milestones, whether they're small, incremental, or like the big monthly goal.
Yeah, and what came through for this, it's like I see online, and I saw it in corporate too. Like it's really easy to put blame on other people, or this for work and blah blah blah. And I've done that as well in some portions when I've been unhappy. Though to be the driver in your own career. So take a look at the environment that you're in, what you want, what you enjoy, where do you want to give back? Because as human beings, we want to contribute. We want to learn and grow. And I feel like career is a really big way to express your legacy. So at the end of the day, your last day, you want to look back, like, how did you give? Were you making an impact in an area that you want? Because I truly believe we all have something beautiful to give. So when you look at your career and milestones, if things are really off, okay, like, call me up, like, let's start looking up career, or find a coach that that resonates with you. Though there is ways that you can start reevaluating what you want to do and take steps to get there by the end of the year, because it is possible. And I think for occupational wellness, it's like you also get to bring in that attitude to your work environment. So if you have like a shit, like I get there's shit days and we all have them, though, if every day is that day and you're bringing that into the workplace, you like, how do you want to show up and contribute? Because it will help you, I think, expand what's possible.
I love that. And talking about expansion, let's talk about our spiritual dimension on the wellness wheel. And you already talked about walking in nature and meditation. And I think for me, meditation is something that's key. And I recognize when I'm not practicing regularly. So that's something that I've really been devoting my time to as well, is just taking, and I think a lot of people think if you're meditating, it has to be for hours a day or half an hour. It doesn't even have to be that long. Even taking, there's been studies that have proven that meditation, even just for 5 minutes a day, can improve your overall well-being. And I think everybody has 5 minutes in them, and there's so many great apps that we've talked about before. Insight Timer is one that I use, that have guided meditations, or you can set your own timer and figure out your own ambient sounds and bells to go with it. 5 minutes. And I would love to challenge everybody who's listening to put into practice for at least 21 days, 5 minutes of meditation. And after the 21 days, I would love for you to come back and comment and let us know your experience, because I guarantee you, if it's something that you really commit to, you're gonna feel differently.
Mm. Yeah, and I always use it to the analogy, like, have you ever been on your computer, have a million tabs open, and then it starts to crash, and you get the spinning wheels and you're frustrated. Your mind works just the same. It's a big master computer. So when we say that 5 minutes, it allows you to kind of close those tabs, those browsers, and then come to that piece of like a restart, a refresh, to quit the chaotic energy, so that you can come back and open just one browser, to open up one thing that you need. So it is very important. And it seemed like again, just like the computer, your mind is this masterful machine. So that's what 5 minutes can do. And that's like, it's free, simple, and everyone has 5 minutes. Even I truly believe, like, sit in your car, go to a washroom, walk outside, like, be creative with it. Like, it's possible. 5 minutes is super possible. And if you don't think you have 5 minutes, then you probably need about 20. And I would say, if you can't do 5 minutes, do 20, because that's probably what you need.
I love it. And too, like with meditation, there's just been a lot of times when, you maybe feel lost or don't have the answers. And I just find I get so much more clear. And sometimes the answers come to me in an inspired idea, or whether it's a billboard, but just taking that time and that awareness to notice, the universe is here for you to co-create. And 5 minutes, I feel like, could change your life. So if you're going to start this practice and it changes your life, you're welcome. Anyway, moving on to finances. And like, a lot of people don't like to necessarily talk about their finances, but it's such an important part of your overall well-being. So if you're not where you are financially, is there somebody that you can ask for help? Are there other opportunities you can look at? What is your relationship with money? Do you have money blocks? We've all grown up no, I shouldn't say we've all grown up. I grew up, you had to work hard for your money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Like we've all heard different ideas around money that might be outdated or probably are outdated. So what is your relationship with money, and how do you think about money? And, do you hang on to every penny, or are you generous with it? I do a little victory dance anytime I find like a dime on the street, and I'm just so grateful. So can you find gratitude in money, and what are your thoughts when you have to pay your bills? Are you dreading those bills, or are you of the mindset, there's always more where that came from? So it's a big topic, and I think it's one that a lot of people have a difficulty talking about. And if you do have difficulty talking about it, then you probably have a money block. So come see me for an RTT session.
Yeah, because it's huge and it's stressful. Money causes a lot of stress, and there's so many resources. And we could start with just the big banks. If you don't know, if you're not sure, there's a free resource there for you. There's other resources and people talking about money online. And sometimes it's just a little bit of a shift or that awareness of what's going on. Tax season's coming up. So the way that you're thinking about things, or maybe even judging yourself, like it's okay, because finances are huge, and it's such a big topic. I know that's something that I've really struggled with and still continuously work on, because if I look at money, like if money was my friend, what would money think about me? Am I ignoring it? Am I grateful for it? Am I pushing it away? Like you can ask yourself so many questions. So what do your financial goals look like? And that could just be starting like, where am I right now? Creating that budget, understanding your expenses, your income. Do you want to start like something fun on the side that can start generating more income? If there are subscriptions that you simply don't need anymore that could save you a couple $100s a month, like there's little tweaks in budgets that can be brought to light. But it first takes you just to acknowledge that, yeah, finances are always going to be here, and you get to choose what you would do with it. So start with your point A, and I would say take a look at everything. Go through your monthly expenses, some discretionary income, or what's going on, and just say like, okay, here's where I'm at, and how do you want to move forward? And know that there's so many resources available for you. And sometimes it is going to like a bank and understanding maybe more about money, and then going to someone like Deb to get past those blocks to help move the energy, because that's when you'll start again. Like sometimes you need to remove things in order to welcome new things in.
And some of those beliefs are so, like I said before, deep seated, that you don't even recognize. And it could be generational from like your previous ancestors, how they treated money. Or if, poverty runs in your family, chances are you have a money block somewhere. So yeah, sometimes it's not even something that we acknowledge that might be deep rooted within us. So anyway, a great category to really dive deep in, because like you said, finances are so important. And last but not least on our wellness wheel, we have personal growth. And I think this is something that I'm always looking to achieve. I'm always, trying to, I don't know, better myself, be better, give more, inspire others, really hone in on my purpose and how I can contribute to society, whether it's even just volunteering or in my own work. But for me, I'm always looking, how could I have done that better? It's that daily self-reflection. Could I have handled that better? And next time I will do better, because once you know better, you do better.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. And sometimes we don't. And that's okay. That's part of the reflection.
Yeah, I was talking to some people over the weekend that are getting into personal growth, and I get so excited when people are starting to like, there's so many people out there, including ourselves, that are just like, okay, there is a different way, a possible way forward that's different. Like you have to do something different if you want different results, full stop. Like that is it. And with personal growth, like I like to think I have a university diploma degree in personal growth. I've invested so much in the last 5 years, and someone asked me like, do I regret it? Because they look at me like, oh, well, you just broke up with this. I'm like, no, like it's gotten me in such a way. So if you're on the personal growth journey, sometimes what I think that the judgment is, it's like, why don't you have everything put together? Or why is like, and it's remembering that like we're human beings, and everyone I feel like has in astrology, they call it the Chiron, like that wounded healer, things that they're working through to up level their life. And for personal growth for myself, it's always been like, okay, in some parts it used to be career. I was super career focused because I was so unhappy with what I was doing. And then that was a lot of my focus of personal growth. Then it was on to like entrepreneurship. Relationships have always had a flow of it. The curiosity for me is just like, how do I make that lasting change? And for what we began talking about, it is making those small movements, retraining our mind and our brain to move it forward. So when you're investing in personal growth, like who is that person that you want to be, and that takes you to understand. No one, don't go to a coach or us and say like, I've sometimes people like, I need to know what my purpose is. It's like, well, I'm not going to tell you. I don't know your purpose. And I think that's sometimes a misconception too. It's like, if I'm doing personal growth, people could tell me what I'm here to do, and that's an inside job. So like my point for this is like personal growth is such a unique journey, and it's asking yourself like, where in your life do you want to improve, and how do you want to give to others? And the only person that's going to be able to answer those questions is yourself, in the resources that you decide to attract or feel right to you. Like, have you ever just resonated with someone's content, or felt that pull and you're like, you know what, this is the time to invest? I would say invest in it, because you can do all the freebies and things. There is such power when you go into a workshop or you invest in that coaching. Sometimes I've been like, well, why am I investing this money? And then I have like that one breakthrough moment, and it can just take one tiny shift sometimes, and it changes the whole trajectory of your life. So keep in mind, for personal growth, like it is such a personal journey. There's so many resources out there, and I would say like set aside like your financial budget, set aside some budget, because that is you upgrading your hardware. Just like you'd upgrade your phone, you'd upgrade your computer when it's not working. Like you're working with a program that's like situated as a 5-year old. Maybe things aren't serving anymore. So that's like a little bit of like more of my rant today. But I'm like, what's next for me? And you know what, I feel like I'm questioning that myself too. So I'm not gonna be like, yeah, this is the way, because it's such a personal journey, and no one's gonna have your answers for you except for you. And it's investing in it.
I would say too, I don't think I've ever changed on my own. It came with investing in myself and working with a coach who could see the vision maybe before I could. Like I developed a vision of what I wanted, but sometimes along with that, it's messy, and it's really taking those beliefs that no longer serve you and letting them go. And part of that for me, when I started, every time I've changed, every time I've worked with a coach, every time my vision has gotten bigger and bigger, a lot along with that, when you are so invested in your own dream, you recognize that there's things that you need to release, whether it's friendships, whether it's habits, whether there's always going to be, like we've talked about, things that you need to release. And so while it's great as you're working towards it, there's been so many times, like when I co-authored my book, I remember working with my coach and I was just a freaking mess. And I was like, who am I to write a book? And like, that was just a belief I needed to remove. Who am I not to write a book? Who's going to read this and be inspired by it? Who's going to, really resonate with what I'm talking about? So, along those ways, like along that path, you're going to a destination that you've never been to before. And so it is deeply personal, but it's messy too. And nobody talks about like the mess of personal growth sometimes. And it's nitty, it's gritty, but on the other side of it, you're like, you become somebody new, and you look back and think, oh my gosh, I'm not even the same person. And I can look back, to 2018 and just see my growth and know that I am no longer, not even close to the same person. And, my next destination or journey or goal, I'll be a different person as well. So Yeah, it's not, I think Ali and I have talked a lot about, nobody talks about how like nitty gritty personal growth can be, but
The goo.
it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Welcome to the goo where everything feels like it's like falling apart and you're like, oh no, but look it, you can make a brand new cake. You just don't know yet because you're like mixing in the ingredients.
I love it. Anyway, this has been just a wonderful conversation today. If you have been with us, thank you so much. I hope we're going to post the wellness wheel for you again, and just take a moment to reflect on each dimension of the wellness wheel and feel what really aligns with you. And are there a couple areas that maybe you need to put your time and attention to because it's not an area maybe where you're not feeling fully satisfied? So let us know your goals. Let us know your feedback and what you'd like to see on this podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we will be back next week with another episode of Coffee and Stilettos. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please share with your friends and rate and recommend on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. There will be links to more great resources in the description.